sure don't like those. I gotta turn this off. Well,
Get your switch there. Okay, y'all ready? All right, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Texarkana, Texas City Council. Today is Monday, July the 10th, 2023. We'd like to welcome all of you who are joining us in the audience this evening, as well as those who are joining us online. We certainly appreciate your attendance this evening, and we sure hope that you find our meeting to be informative. At this time, I'm going to call on our City Secretary, Ms. Jennifer Evans, to provide a roll call. Ms. Evans?
Ms. White?
Here.
Ms. Williams?
here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Ms. Hart?
Here.
Ms. Matlock?
Here.
Ms. Page?
All right, Councilmember Page is not with us this evening, so with her absence, I will be voting along with the council this evening on items that come before the council. Our invocation and pledge will be led by Councilmember Gene Matlock. If everyone will please stand.
Yes, please. Heavenly Father, we come to you today with thanksgiving. Thank you for another day to meet, to conduct the business of the city of Texarkana, Texas. Lord, we ask that you give us the heart, the mind, the spirit, and to do what is right and pleasing in your sight. These and all other blessings we ask in your darling Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Just to go over a few items of interest this evening, our next council meeting will be held on Monday, August the 14th. In August, we'll be reverting back to our regular two-monthly meetings, August the 14th as well as August the 28th at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. Also, we have several events taking place in the community during the months of July and August. Our farmers market continues each Saturday from 7 a.m. until 11 a.m. at 500 North State Line Avenue, which is the federal courthouse and post office building downtown, as well as adjacent Shepherd Park. The best salsa and the Arklatex competition will be hosted by the Texarkana Farmers Market, and that'll be held on August the 5th at the same location. Contest will run from 7 a.m. until 12 noon, and if you are interested in entering in the salsa contest, we have some information on the screen that you can obtain by doing that, or you can call the city for further assistance if you need help in getting registered for that. Also, in reference to our Perot Theater shows, we do have two upcoming performances on July the 16th at 6 p.m. Travis Tritt will be in concert at the Perot Theater, and then on July the 22nd at 8 p.m. Rodney Carrington will be in concert at the Perot Theater. So a couple of very good events coming up in our community. Just wanted to pass along a couple more items. Yesterday morning, Director Stephen Hollybush with the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, and I presented a joint proclamation to Bishop Terry Taylor, who is the bishop at the church, let me get that written down correctly, the Church of the Living God number 4, which is located on Laurel Street on the Arkansas side. Pastor Taylor has been involved in the ministry for 25 years at that particular church. He's also a well-known educator in our community with the Texarkana, Arkansas School District, and he was just recently named Assistant Superintendent at TASD. And so we had a great event yesterday recognizing him for his service pastoring his local church, as well as in the areas of education and community service. He heads up our Ministerial Alliance, which is a group of pastors in our community that we work with on a very close basis involving various matters in the community. And so I want to thank him for his many dedicated years of service. Also, last Saturday evening, we had the sesquicentennial ball that was held at Texarkana Country Club. The weather was not all that great, but those who came, we had a very good turnout for that. And it was just an exciting evening, kind of a historic evening for our community. And this was put on by a large contingent of committee members from the community. But I want to recognize 3 of our city employees who also spearheaded this event and got everything put together, and they are Lisa Thompson, Brooke Stone, and Keith Beeson. These particular types of events, they just don't occur on their own. It takes a lot of preparation and setup and that sort of thing, and so Lisa and Brooke and Keith want to thank you all very much for your dedicated service in putting this event on, and we'll have some other events coming up throughout the year as we celebrate our sesquicentennial anniversary. The official date will be on December the 8th. And so we've had some great events thus far and look for more to come. So once again, thank you all from the city staff who put on this. We also had a full council at the event last Saturday night along with guests. And council, thank you for being a part of that. And we had a great turnout from the Arkansas side board directors as well. Mayor Brown's out of town on vacation, but their directors and guests also enjoyed the ball as well. So anyway, great event. At this time, we'll move along to our open forum comments from the public. If there's anyone who would like to address the council this evening, you are welcome to do so. If you are here this evening and you're wanting to speak on behalf of one of our public hearing items, then I ask if you will please wait until we get to that particular public hearing item, and then we'd be more than happy to listen to your remarks at that time. Also, if you want to address the council, we ask that you fill out one of these yellow or gold-colored sheets. They can be found on the wall rack there next to the door, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak, and so this is your time as far as the citizens addressing the council. I do have a sheet that's filled out this evening, and it's filled out by Sean Dangerfield, and Mr. Dangerfield would like to address the council on the subject matter of code enforcement. And so, Mr. Dangerfield, if you'll please come forward to the podium to my right, and if you will please also state your name for the record, and we welcome you to our meeting this evening as well.
Thank you very much. My name is Sean Dangerfield. Just to be brief, I'm here as a person who's trying to revitalize some of the areas that's been kind of has issues here in Texarkana. Some of the neighborhoods that have a lot of abandoned houses, fire damaged houses, overgrown lots and things like that. We're trying to get these properties and bring them back to life, use them to youth of the neighborhood, and making them into affordable housing, or just clear up the lots and have community gardens or whatever we can do as a private citizens here in Texarkana. So far, the city's been very helpful. Every time I've ever called the city for any issues or to getting anything done, they've been very helpful. I've actually done a lot of talking with other people trying to get them to help revitalize the community as well. And one issue though that I've heard that happens here is the code enforcements. And that's why I decided to come up here to the board to present this on behalf of a lot of the people I've heard that I've spoken with in the past, where when people are buying a new property here in Texarkana that's been abandoned, that's been neglected, and they're trying to revitalize it, it's almost, from what I heard, sometime immediately, the situation I've been in, probably about a month after purchasing the property, I have a code enforcement letter. And some of the people I've talking to actually left the city trying to revitalize because they said the code enforcements became, and the $500 fines came up to it wasn't even economical because some of these properties, you're buying only for like $1,000 or $5,000 because they're in such bad damage. But then you're immediately getting fined $500. Now, that's all hearsay because I wasn't receiving those letters, but here recently I did get a violation for high grass and weeds. The issue that I had was, like I said, I try to get the youth in the community to help with the revitalization because I feel if the youth of the community is involved, they'll have a little bit more passion about trying to keep up the community as well. In this certain instance, the grass did get a little bit high. I think it was a lot of rain going on. I was out of town a little bit, and then I get this letter, and the thing that was really caught my eyes, it said, "This is the only notice you will receive for 1 year from the date of this notice regarding the need to keep the vegetation of property mowed." In that, in a separate part, it says fines, excuse me, that the city will start fining not to exceed $500 per day for each day the violation exists. So that's kind of not the best notice I want to get if I'm trying to revitalize the community. And like I said, I haven't, this is just the first letter, but other people talked to me in the past saying that these fines do come pretty regularly, pretty quickly, to the point where they just abandon the property. I actually talked to a gentleman out of Dallas who was convinced to come up here a few years ago. He bought a property near Texarkana College, and he actually just tore the property down and left. He said the fines just kept coming, and he was just overwhelmed with it, and he's not coming back to invest. So I think this is just something I wanted to bring up to the board, to the city, that there are some people that do believe in Texarkana, that love Texarkana, and want to come and invest in Texarkana, and it's just these code violations could become an impediment, because it's a pretty threatening letter. So that's all I have.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Dangerfield. We appreciate your time and your remarks, sir.
Okay, unfortunately, I can't stay for the whole meeting because I got some kids working, so I got to hurry up and pick them up. So,
Okay.
But thanks for.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, well, thank you, sir. We appreciate your attendance. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening? Not seeing anyone else at this time. Ms. Evans, you don't have any other sheets? Okay. At this time, we'll move along to our appointments to boards and commissions. Do we have any appointments to boards, commissions, or committees this evening? All right, don't believe we have any, so now move along to items for consideration. We do have several items this evening on the consent agenda. Item 1 is to consider approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of the City Council held on June the 20th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Item 2, ordinance number 2023-089, calling the city's November 7th, 2023 general election for the purpose of electing a council member for Ward 3 and a council member for Ward 5. Item number 3, resolution number 2023-092, authorizing the city manager to execute contracts for the purchase of chemicals for water and wastewater treatment. Funds are available in the Utilities 2023-2024 budget in the department's operating fund. Item number 4, resolution number 2023-093, authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with RK Hall Incorporated of Paris, Texas, for an amount not to exceed $3,676,077.44 for the Robinson Road Mill and Overlay Street Reconstruction Project, with funds budgeted in the 2022 bond fund. Unless a council member would like to pull one or more items off the consent agenda for further consideration, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as it has been presented. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilmember Hart. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Williams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. All right, the consent agenda has been approved. At this time, move along to our action items on the agenda. We do have 2 action items this evening. Item 5 is resolution number 2023-094, authorizing a written services agreement for provision of city services to Highland Park Baptist Church, located at 1000 South Bishop Road, in the event the City Council adopts an ordinance for full purpose annexation of the property. Council has considered your voting this evening. Mr. Lewis, our city attorney, Jeff Lewis, will brief the council on this item. Good evening, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Highland Park Church consents to annexation of a portion of its property. It currently straddles the city limits. The property is next to newly annexed property the council annexed a few months ago, consistent with our strategic partnership agreement with Macedonia Ilo Utility District. Pastor Myers would be here tonight, if not for a family commitment, to reiterate the church's consent. This is very similar to other agreements that the council has seen with other proposed annexations. The proposed zoning is agricultural to match the portion of the Highland Park property that is within the city limits. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Any questions for Mr. Lewis or the staff? Okay, very good. Is there a motion for approval of the resolution?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilmember White. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Hart. This item pertains to a resolution, so there's not a caption. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Resolution passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 6, resolution number 2023-095, authorizing a written services agreement for provision of city services to McGeorge Contracting Company. 2 parcels, 4310 South Lake Drive, South Kings Highway, Wainwright Street, and Finley Street, in the event the City Council adopts an ordinance for full purpose annexation of the property. Mr. Lewis?
Council members, this is the owner of approximately close to 100 acres in the substantial portion of one of the areas identified by the Macedonia Olive District and the city for proposed annexation. At your place is the signed services agreement from the landowner. If the council approves this, this would be the last services agreement to be presented prior to bringing forward to the council a proposed annexation ordinance for the entirety of that particular stretch of land between the city limits, Kings Highway, border to the south by Highway 59, all commercial property, no residential. The landowner had requested and city staff has agreed to propose to the council to zone this particular property Industrial 1. The remainder of the property that would be proposed for annexation, consistent with the agreement with the utility district, is planned development commercial. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Lewis by the council? All right, very good. Is there a motion for approval of the resolution?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilmember Williams, second by
Second.
Councilmember Davis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The resolution passes. We do not have any first briefings scheduled on our agenda this evening, so now we'll move along to our public hearings. We do have several public hearings scheduled this evening. Item 1 is resolution number 2023-076, adopting the Community Development Block Grant CDBG Consolidated Plan, Citizen Participation Plan, and Annual Action Plan. So at this time, I'll declare the public hearing open on this item. If there's anyone who would like to address the council, if you'll please come forward and state your name for the record. Not seeing anyone coming forward at this time, we'll declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion for approval of the resolution?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilmember Davis. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Matlock. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The resolution passes. Item number 2, resolution number 2023-082, establishing a youth advisory committee appointed by the City Council. At this time, I'll declare the public hearing open on this item. If anyone would like to address the council, please come forward. At this time, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion for approval of the resolution?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilmember White. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Williams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Resolution passes. Item number 3, ordinance number 2023-068, granting a specific use permit to allow one additional use of a permanent cosmetics on Lot 1, Richmond Acres subdivision located at 5822 Richmond Road. John and Kinsey Bullock owners and Jordan Johnson agent. At this time, I'll declare the public hearing open on this item. If anyone would like to address the council, please come forward. At this time, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion for approval of the ordinance?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilmember White. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Davis. Ms. Evans, will you read the caption, please?
Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Texarkana, Texas, amending the zoning map showing the location, boundary, and use of certain property by the granting of specific use permit number S-776 to allow one additional use of permanent cosmetics in a tenant space on Lot 1, Richmond Acres subdivision located at 5822 Richmond Road in the city of Texarkana, Bowie County, Texas, containing a repealer clause, containing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ordinance passes. Item number 4, ordinance number 2023-069, granting a specific use permit to allow an assisted living facility on an approximate 11.25 acre tract of land being Tract 21, Willis Oldham Headright Survey, A-458, located at 5902 North Park Road. Due to written protest, a 3/4 vote of the council is required to adopt this ordinance. C. Jack Smith, owner, and Steve McKee, agent. At this time, I'll declare the public hearing open on this item. If there's anyone who would like to address the council, if you'll please come forward and state your name for the record. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Stacy McKee. My husband Steve and I are here tonight on behalf of 5902 North Park Road and the small Type B assisted living facility. This will be a beautiful large home for 16 residents. I have been created with a desire to take care of the elderly population. I have been blessed to be able to serve in the medical community since 2005. I have been in different areas: hospitals, home health, doctor's office settings, hospice, long-term care, and assisted livings. This has allowed me to see firsthand the lack of quality senior living. My mom was an activity director of a long-term care facility when I was a little girl. Some of my fondest memories were the days she would take me with her to work. I would find myself crawled up in the bed with one of the grandmothers, brushing their hair or being entertained while my mother worked. I had no idea that God was already sowing in me a desire to love and care for the senior population. 5 years ago, the Lord told me very plain to prepare myself for full-time ministry. I wasn't really sure what that meant, especially since I felt I had been doing that way before then. See, this is not really Steve and I's project. It belongs to the Lord. He has made all of this happen. The idea, the desire, the people to help us get this far, the beautiful piece of property that He showed us, it is all His. He has orchestrated every single detail. We are blown away that He would find us worthy to be the hands and feet to carry this out for Him. After all, aren't we all created to grow His kingdom? We all have had the burden or know someone who has that has been given the responsibility of finding a place to move a loved one to when they can no longer safely take care of themselves. What an awful experience it is to know you have to settle for one of the big box facilities that are understaffed and the care is below average. We are offering an alternative to this, where the residents that live there will have the very best care of anywhere in Texarkana, and this will be their home, and I will be blessed for getting to care for them. This home will have an open floor plan with a large living and dining room, an open kitchen with a chef, daily activities, a beauty salon, as well as caregivers around the clock. Each resident will have their own private room and bathroom, not to mention the beautiful piece of property God set aside for this. I am aware of the concerns that some have for this assisted living facility, and I would like to address a couple of them. The clearing of the trees has been brought to my attention, but that's not even an option. It's the beautiful trees that is what makes the property so beautiful. The seclusion, the little piece of country in the city, the wildlife that call it home. I also know that been an issue about the comprehensive plan for the future land use. And I understand why there are rules and regulations put forth. As the administrator of the assisted living in Hope during COVID, there were rules and regulations that were brought about that stopped families from being able to come in and see their loved ones. And it was horrible. They weren't dying from COVID, they were dying from isolation and depression. And so I understand that. There has to be a governing body to put forth organization for a system to maintain quality and structure. But I also know that rules and regulations can be amended. There are only 4 types of people in this world. Those that have been caregivers, those that are caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers. And I was born a caregiver. And I hope that you vote favorably for this assisted living.
Thank you, ma'am. Public hearing is still open. If there's anyone else who would like to address the council, if you'll please come forward and state your name for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of our city's council. My name is Wanda Boyette. I reside at 5627 Century Lane, just a few hundred steps from the property we're looking at tonight. And I must admit, this morning as I sat in front of my computer trying to reduce my thoughts to paper, I have so many questions and a few concerns, but tonight I'm just going to focus on 2 of those concerns. My first query regards the procedure. Requesting for specific use permit versus the rezoning approach. Now, I understand it's entirely legal, but it gave the appearance of somewhat of secrecy. And as Dr. Grant used to always tell me, perception is reality to many, so we have to deal with it. Had my husband not read all the legal notices and the very fine print, I might add, in the April the 16th Gazette, we would not have been aware of the action or the hearing that was taking place May the 1st. I immediately began to call to find out the details, and I was told that there was opportunities for us to speak to this, and once I began to establish and understand all the facts and the procedures, I began to talk to my surrounding neighbors to discuss the matter. The overwhelming response from everyone I talked to was to try to stop the commercial creep from taking over what we respectfully call the Miller properties, even though we all know Dr. Smith and his lovely wife now own it. Had the usual procedure for rezoning taken place, more citizens would have been aware because signs would have been posted, and I can guarantee you that the petition that you have on record would have many more signatures had more people been aware in a timely fashion. And perhaps my greatest concern is the possible disregard of the future land use map. The City of Texarkana's comprehensive plan is an excellent policy document designed by a diverse group representing a cross-section of Texarkana to guide land use decisions. So why disregard or amend this document only to benefit a few? Much time and deliberations go into this planning and the subsequent public documents. I believe the individuals involved in its creation were looking at the greater good for the future of this city and its potential growth. Now, I'd like to read from the city's briefing sheet I pulled up. On 5th paragraph, it states, "The staff recommends for denial of this request as it conflicts with the future land use map and the comprehensive plan." Now, it does go on in that same paragraph to talk about plan development if you choose to approve. And this also makes me wonder, are we setting a precedent here by allowing someone to cherry pick, if you will, a piece of residential property, request a special use permit, and then place an assisted living or other use in the city ordinances on said sites. Even though this may not be described as a commercial entity, all of the assisted living centers that I know of are for-profit business, and ultimately the residential designation will forever be changed by the nature of the use if you allow this to be built at this location. And let me be very clear, I do not oppose assisted living centers. Frankly, I may very well be in need of one in the not too distant future. As a matter of fact, there is a piece of property a short distance west on Moore's Lane from this property that is filled with trees and the deer and the lovely area, and it's already zoned for this type of business. I would 100% support that location. And it's important for me to say this, that I harbor no animus toward Dr. Smith, his wife, his family, or the McKees. We just have opposing views on this land use. I wish them all well in whatever they do. For those that think the Boyettes are opposed to growth, let me share just a little bit of history regarding our family's commitment to this fair city. My husband's grandparents and parents moved to Century Lane long before it bore that name. This was prior to World War II, prior to Interstate 30, and most everything that's in the north part of town. 5 generations have lived and been raised on that lane, and this was, and it is, a family of builders. Rick's father, Charles Boyette, built the first house in what is now known as the Northridge subdivision. My son Casey has started a construction business to follow in the legacy. And my daughter Nicole, along with my husband Rick, are currently building a home on the last 2 lots in Northridge. I would call that coming full circle and leaving their mark in Texarkana for more than 70 years. And last but not least, my 2 brother-in-laws, Mike and Ronnie, are master carpenters, and they continue to help build America in Texarkana. Yes, we are invested in this community, and we do want to see it grow and prosper. As a developer, my husband always balanced the need for growth while complementing the surrounding properties. All the property adjoining this area in question this evening is residential. All the properties on Century Lane are residential. As you travel around North Park Road to the north and back to the west, past Winchester and to the Enclave, you will find only residential dwellings. And I'd like to share one last note of progress, if you'll allow me. I have had the distinct honor of serving on the TISD Board of Trustees for almost 30 years. This past year, this community passed a bond for $189 million. This past year has been amazing for all of us, and I promise you that this will be a game changer for our community, the families, and most of all, the youth we educate and serve. I predict we will see a rise in families moving into TISD. And that is reason enough to keep as many properties designated residential as it can be. And I've been told by many realtors that there is a need for upscale residential homes. I will close with this last comment. This council is empowered to decide the fate of my neighborhood. And I only ask that you consider the wishes of those that signed the petition, those in attendance this evening, and the landowners whose property adjoins or is within the 200 feet range that oppose the change. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. I know this is not going to be an easy decision, but you knew that when you took the job. So I wish you all the best, and I look forward to hearing your decision.
I have a question.
Yes.
You said that cherry pick a spot.
Mhm.
Aren't you cherry picking a spot for them? You said it was a nice place, somewhere else they could go. Is that cherry picking?
That was a suggestion. If you saw it as cherry picking, I was thinking of someone that would see this as a precedence, and from this day forward, start, looking around the land use map and start pulling out items. And, but in essence, you get it for a residential price, but in essence, if it becomes commercial, it will, be quite the bargain. And perhaps that will not happen. I just had to say us open up the possibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boyette. And also thank you for your service to the ISD School Board for many years. Appreciate your service. Okay. Public hearing is still open. If anyone else would like to address the council, if you'll please come forward and state your name for the record.
My name is Jack Smith. I've been a resident of Texarkana since 1969. Let me begin by saying thank you to Wanda for her service and state at the outset I bear her no ill will. She's been a good neighbor. Thank you for allowing me to speak, council members, friends, and neighbors. I regret that sometimes these issues take on an adversarial nature. If we are adversaries, at the end of the process, there are winners and losers. I do not regard anyone here as an adversary. You're all my neighbors, and you're here because you really care about your neighborhood. I don't think anyone will go away from this meeting feeling as if they lost. What I think is proposed is a win for all of us. The property we're considering at 5902 North Park Road was bought by Ralph and Betty Miller in 1950. They raised their family there. They had 3 daughters and lived there until they died. I married their second daughter, Linda, in 1984. That marriage lasted until Linda died in 2018, 5 years ago. In 2005, Linda and I bought the property from her parents and allowed them to live there the rest of their life. Betty died in 2015. Ralph was a polio victim, confined to a wheelchair. After Betty's death, Linda took on grocery shopping, laundry needs for Ralph. Caregivers were hired, and for the last 6 years of his life until his death in 2021, we had caregivers coming twice a day to see that he got up, got dressed, got fed, and at the end of the day, to see that he got back to bed and fed again. So you see, in fact, this site has been an assisted living for the last several years. Many neighbors helped care for him and support him in this. Thank you. This property is known by us and recognized by the state of Texas as Miller Landing Timber Farm. We have done selected cuts of mature timber in 1995 and 2008. We have a forestry consultant that helps and advises us. Recent inquiries, however, about harvesting timber have resulted in responses indicating that a clear cut would be most profitable and would be what the harvesting organization would prefer. This would leave us with a field of ugly stumps and piles of brush. Ralph would never allow this. This is not what I want either. And most of you would probably prefer that this not happen. Ralph would never allow the underbrush to be cleared since he said it was a sound barrier and afforded him more privacy. One of the appealing aspects of the proposed plan by Steve and Stacy is their plan to leave the trees and create a park-like atmosphere to surround their assisted living residence. What if you deny this plan and leave the property in its present status? There is a problem with this. The property is not abandoned, but it is unoccupied. I check on it once or twice a week, keep it mowed, but we have homeless people in our neighborhood. They have sought shelter in buildings on the property. They have torn off boards on entrances I have nailed shut to prevent access. They've torn off locks. They've damaged light fixtures, broken windows, stolen a window air conditioner, and left trash and rubbish. These people are often mentally ill, addicted to drugs or alcohol. They may or may not be prone to violence if confronted. They present a danger to our neighborhood because of risk of theft, risk of an unpleasant encounter, or risk of fire, either accidentally or set on purpose. If a forest fire happened in dry summer conditions in this area, it could create a very serious problem and endanger the entire neighborhood. Steve and Stacy will remove these unoccupied structures and solve this problem. In view of a presentation by the buyers and the facts I have presented, I ask the council to approve this project and affirm the judgment and recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Commission. It will be a win for all parties. A win for the neighborhood, since a beautiful landscape will be created and security improved. An area for people who need assisted living and for their families. A win for Stacy and Steve, who can realize their dream. A win for me to allow me to fulfill my duty to the Miller family and see that this precious piece of land is put to good use. Thank you. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Any questions for Dr. Smith? All right. Thank you, sir. Public hearing is still open. If anyone else would like to address the council, if you'll please come forward, state your name for the record.
Kind of deep in here. Matt Wilson. I live on Citrus Lane as well. The good thing, I have a concern, I guess, from just a numbers side on this deal. I've had a tough time making it work with the 16 beds and the amount of capital it's going to take to run a project like this. I'm a little concerned about the long-term viability of this. And then I did know that I'm pretty certain of another one or two offers that Mr. Smith has either been approached about or made for some single-family residential property to come in there and build a home and kind of maintain this property as similar to what it is today, except prettier, and just put one home back there instead of a commercial facility. So those are just a couple of things. I would love to hear some of the math that would be interesting to me, but that's it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all. Do you have any questions for me?
Actually, I do.
Okay.
So you're not opposed then for a single family or things to be built on that property? It's not
No.
that, yeah, you're open to it being built on, just not this?
Yeah, I'd like to see, I mean, selfishly, I live down there and we moved here 5 years ago because of what it is, the nature. We've got about 10 acres down the street on Century Lane, and it's beautiful, it's nice. And I don't like the idea that the congestion with the traffic is gonna be a little bit of an issue, I would think. If you've got however many patients in there and employees coming in and out. So yeah, I mean, in an ideal world for me, a buddy of mine buys a property and builds a single home in there, and it works out well.
Thank you.
I just want, yeah, kind of make it.
What about a residential subdivision, a full subdivision on that property?
Obviously, I would rather have just one home than a subdivision.
One home on a 12-acre tract?
Or me, but I'm not buying the property.
I know, but I'm just stating, since you live in the area, then what would be your thoughts if that were developed into a subdivision? Would you oppose that?
No, I guess I'd have to see. I don't know how it all works and size of lots and all that stuff, but no, not necessarily.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Public hearing is still open. If anyone else would like to address the council, please come forward.
Hi, my name is Jeff Harrell, Coach Harrell. I coached at Texas High for 15 years and 5 years at Arkansas High as a track coach. And I live at 609 North Park, right across the road from this, where this is going to be built. And my only concern, or main concern, is just the value of our properties. I was under the impression that I bought a house 20 years ago here in Texarkana in a residential neighborhood, and now there's going to be a commercial facility across the street. And what's that do for the value of the homes in the neighborhood? And I know it's going to be a nice facility from what they're saying. And the main concern is what's that do for all our property values in that area. If there's houses across the street from me, it'd be great. But I think there may be people that might not want to live that close to any kind of commercial. And just like I'm sure at your houses, you probably don't want a commercial business right across the street. And that's what it is. We can call it what it is. We can say whatever we want to about, what made you pick this facility or whatever, but what made you pick this facility is make some money. And that's what it's about. And that's why I'm standing here, because I don't want the money. I don't want a commercial property across from my house. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Coach. Public hearing is still open. If anyone else would like to address the council, please come forward. State your name for the record.
Hello, Mayor, City Council. My name is Steve McKee. My wife, Stacy, she's pretty much covered everything, so there's not a whole lot to cover, but there has been a few issues that was brought up. First of all, we're not asking to rezone this commercial or anything. We're just wanting a specific use permit, something that's been done many, many times. We're not wanting to cut the trees. We're not wanting to change the value of the place. Matter of fact, it was brought up that there's nothing but residential around there, but the only view that you have from this property, the entire property, that if you're on it, the only view you have is trees or the travel center. That's it. You can't see a house. You can't see this gentleman's house. You can't see any of that. So there's just the travel center, and it butts right up against it all the way along the front. And we're not wanting to reinvent the wheel here. We're just wanting to get a specific use permit for that. But one thing I want to say is if there's any questions that hadn't been answered, Kayla can answer those about the site plan. But I just want to say thank you for all the folks involved in this, because they've been wonderful. I mean, we've had help all along the way, and everybody's been welcoming. But during this process, we've learned that it doesn't matter how wonderful something is. It doesn't matter how beautiful something is. And it doesn't matter what kind of compromises that you make. You can't make everybody happy. You can't please everybody. Although we can't please everybody, we're absolutely going to try to please everyone moving forward. Stacy and I just ask that you vote favorable for this project. And it's one that's it's a small business, it is, but it's going to bring value to the city, and it's a good use for this property. It's a good transition for this property from what it is. And when you talk about value of the homes around it, well, now it has old buildings on it. So we're going to increase the value of the property, obviously, and the surrounding property. And if there's any questions, I'm here. Feel free to ask me.
I do, actually.
All right.
Thank you for being here. And it's beyond a doubt that y'all do have a heart for ministry and a heart for people. I guess my concern is just the location.
Yeah.
In this specific road, earlier this year, the council did already pass something to go near the Boots and Saddle Club. I am concerned for the community. We already are encroaching upon them to build that, and then now this area. Are there other locations that you have looked at where you could put this facility?
No.
Are you open to looking at other other
Looked at
locations?
everything in Texarkana. This is where we're meant to be. About encroaching, we're not going to encroach. We're not cutting anything off the property. We're not cutting the trees. Nobody will be able to see this unless they're passing directly in the front and they can look way back there and see it. There's not going to be any encroachment here. We're not going into anybody's backyard and building. I mean, we're building on this property. But this is the property that I think we were meant to be on, so it's perfect for this. Have you guys been out on this property? Yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
I do also wanted to ask you, Mr. Wilson made a good point of this specific piece of property, if it were to make, but if it did not succeed, then it would be left with this building. And you also talked about being multiple other buildings. So if this did not succeed, what it would leave the community in. I guess he had a question, I think, about the capital. Could you address his specific question he had?
Well, first of all, I had a problem right off the beginning with what he was saying. He said that the doctors already had an offer for a single family. Is that correct, doctor?
Not that I know of.
Yeah. So when he said that, I kind of checked out and was focused on that. There's been no other offers for one single residential home that I'm aware of, and the doctor's sitting right there, he could tell you. There's not going to be, you want to take this one? Go ahead. She can answer that question better.
I just want to say one thing in regards to it not working out. Failure is not an option for us.
Yeah.
I have worked in marketing in many places in the healthcare industry, and there's not one place that I have ever worked where I did not grow that business, ever. I worked in hospice. In my very first month there, we were required to go out and sign up so many people to come on to a service. It's hard to sell hospice. You're getting people to give up aggressive treatment to come on to a service where you're talking about quality care over quantity. I signed up 18 people that month, not because I tried to convince them to give up the service, but because the Lord led me to them. This is not something I'm just coming up with and telling you. I wish the Lord would have given me a desire to open a snow cone stand at the beach. That would have been wonderful, but he didn't. He gave me a caregiver's heart. He created me in my mother's womb for this. Failure is not an option. There are going to be so many people coming to this facility for great care that the people are just going to keep coming. And I will continue to take care of them no matter what I have to do, but failure is not an option.
Yeah, as far as the traffic, I mean, there's already been a study. It's not even, I think, 35% capacity after that part gets through. So there's not going to be any additional traffic. You can say, basically, she and I raised 2 teenage boys, and that was going to be a lot more traffic. If there was a single-family home there with two teenagers, it would be more traffic in and out of there than what we're going to have. So there's not going to be an issue with traffic. I don't know what to say as far as there's one other facility in town like this one, and it's maxed out. It's got a waiting list. There's no plans to open another one by anybody that I know of because this is hard. Memory care is hard. That type of stuff is hard. There's not going to be a bunch of residents in and out because it's not going to be that type of facility. So it's just going to be 2 caregivers around the clock, and so there'll be 2 cars parked there around the clock. There's not going to be traffic, so that's not going to be an issue. This is a perfect place. This is it, y'all.
One more thing. I currently work for Southern Caregivers, which is an in-home caregiving service. On a daily basis, I have 15 to 20 calls of family members calling, asking me to please help them find a caregiver for their family member. They are distraught because they have gone to the facilities here in town looking for a safe place to leave their loved one. And every time it falls through. These facilities are understaffed, and the care is just not what it used to be. There's no quality care anymore. We are bringing that alternative here. It's going to happen. We're all going to need a place to put a loved one where we feel comfortable and secure. This is it. The Lord led us to this place. You asked if we had looked at other properties. We have. We have looked and looked and looked. Steve has said, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I said, this is not where the Lord wants us to go. When we pulled up at that piece of property and I stepped out on it, he told me, this is it. This is the perfect place for this big home. It will add so much value to so many people, not just 16 residents, but everyone that comes there.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Public hearing is still open. If anyone else would like to address the council, if you'll please state your name for the record.
I didn't fill out a paper, I'm sorry.
You don't have to on this.
Oh, okay.
That's only on the comments from the public.
And I'm not gonna speak very long, but the Lord didn't talk to me very much. I talk to him a lot, but I never get any
Excuse me,
direct.
excuse me. Can you please state your name for the record?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Stephanie Maddox.
Thank you.
But anyway, I felt like he was kind of calling me to come up here and say this. I know I look very young, but I have taken care of both my grandmother and my mother. My grandmother died at 94. My mother just passed away last October. So I have been in a position of looking for places for my loved ones. My grandmother, luckily, and I don't know if a lot of people even remember this, was able to move into the finest, what most would consider the finest facility in Texarkana, but she lived there under a trust. We didn't have to pay anything. We had to give them what money she had, but she lived there for the rest of her life, and it was like winning the lottery to my family. We knew that we would never have to think about it. She went from an apartment to assisted living to memory care, and it just was a no-brainer when we got that opportunity. My mother, we weren't quite as lucky, but she lived in a very nice facility. But again, I've had the opportunities just in visiting and clients that I've had that have been, had to move. It is atrocious, some of the conditions, and I'm sorry to say, it's atrocious, some of the conditions that our older generation, or really, I'm considered part of that older generation now, believe it or not, but it really is tough, and there is not enough, there's just not enough facilities in Texarkana. And like he said, I don't know if anybody's planning on building any more, but we need something like this where people will be taken care of and won't have to worry. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maddox. Public hearing is still open. If anyone else would like to address the council. Sir, if you'll please state your name for the record.
Yes, sir. I'm Mike Boyette. I'm at 5621 Century Lane. Pardon my ignorance. The black line on the screen, what does that represent?
That's the boundaries of the property that's being
The
considered.
total amount of the property,
Yes, sir.
correct? Well, that corner right there you see up there, that's my corner.
The one that's labeled 5621.
5621, yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, the property next to me is Dr. C. Jacks. I mowed his grass last week. Doc asked me one time, Mike, what do you want on your street? I said, Doc, I want what you got up there on Pine Street, when you lived on Pine Street. I'd like curb and gutter. I'd like, you know what you got? I like a 2-lane road. I like where trees didn't overhang my property. But I was pretty bluntly told at the planning and zoning deal that, boy, Ed, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight. It does become an interest. Who is my councilman?
That'd be Councilmember Davis on the end.
Have you ever been down 5621 Century Lane? Have you ever been down there?
I was there this weekend.
What did it look like to you?
Good old country road.
Good old country road that's in the city. The pavement's upheaved, branches are overhung. Doc came and visited with my brother, the next door neighbor, last week before. Wanted to kind of calm everything down. Say, Doc, why don't you calm everything down? Why don't you take some of your, this carrying attitude and trim your limbs off a street so we can pass down the road. We don't have to literally pull off to let someone pass us. So if we're caring about things here, I can see the property from the corner of my property. So this to where we can't see nothing is, I promise you, you can come on my property. Anybody in this room can come on my property anytime you want, and I'll take you to that corner and I'll show you the sight line. I'm just scared of what the intentions of the property next door to me are going to be if this happens, and then I just fear that this isn't the only building. And I know there's a clause in the deal that they've got to go through this whole process again and again and again. But a lot of times if you win once, you've won a lot. And I'm just scared to death that this thing's going to blow up. And unfortunately, I was blessed with the opportunity. My mom, Pat, she lived in our house till 2 days of her death. My dad took his last breath in the room that my wife sleep in today. So I was able to take care of my parents until their last death. So it is doable. It's not a curse. It's a blessing. Take care of your parents. I mean, if I ever did not do anything for them, I did that for them. They did die in their own homes. So it's not, and I understand my wife works at a facility that everyone is slandered, and she's not proud to work there. But by God, if you knew her, her little heart's, she can't stand to walk away from it. She is not proud to work there, but she can't not stand to leave it. So I understand the pain that you see every day whenever you see these people being neglected, because that's what she sees every day. So that's just it in a nutshell, I guess. I'm just rambling, but I'm just scared to death that what's going to happen if this thing blows up, and I'm left there 20 years from now, and they say, "Oh well, but." God bless everybody. Dr. Smith, I don't mean to just harp on you, but I mean, you did ask me that day, Mike, what do you want? When you were working on that building, when you was running for some position in town. I gave you my answer. And the road's still the same. And the tree limbs are still scratching my truck when I drive down the road.
Thank you, Mr. Boyette.
Yes.
I said thank you, sir.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you very much.
I just want to say
Go ahead and restate your name again, sir.
Steve McKee, that if there's an issue with limbs on property we're purchasing, we'll absolutely take care of that. But it will be. So we'll absolutely take care of that. And I also want to say, we're not doing anything to Century Lane. It doesn't even have a drive to this property. It's all on North Park Road, straight across from the travel center. So that's where we'll access this property, right? Just due north of the travel center. So, but we'll cut the lanes, clear it all out, make it look good. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Boyette, if there are any limbs that are actually hanging over the street or in the right-of-way, the city will take care of that.
Cause SWEPCO just came down to the other day and did a rate of utilities on it not long ago, just to keep it off the power line, to 20 foot from the power line.
Yes, sir. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Public hearing is still open if anyone else would like to address the council on this item. If not, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Is there, let's see, this is item number 4. All right, so is there a motion for approval of the ordinance?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilmember Hart, and we have a second by Councilmember Matlock. Ms. Evans, the caption, please.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Texarkana, Texas, amending the zoning map showing the location, boundary, and use of certain property by the granting of specific use permit number S-777 to allow the location of an assisted living facility on an approximate 11.25 acre tract of land being Tract 21, Willis Odom HRS A-458, located at 5902 North Park Road in the city of Texarkana, Bowie County, Texas, containing a repealer clause, containing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
Ms. Evans, roll call, please.
Ms. White?
No.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
No.
Ms. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Matlock?
Yes.
Mayor Brueggemann?
Yes. Vote, we do not have 5 affirmative votes, so the vote does not pass by a vote of 4 to 2. We would have to have 5 affirmative votes in order for the ordinance to pass, so based on that, the ordinance did not pass. At this time, we move along to item number 5, ordinance number 2023-075, amending PD-23-2 for site plan approval on an approximate 11.25 acre tract of land being Tract 21, Willis Oldham Headright Survey A-458, located at 5902 North Park Road. Due to written protest, a 3/4 vote of the council is required to adopt this ordinance.
Mayor,
Yes.
that item is now moot.
That's true, because the other item didn't pass, so
Yes.
therefore we can omit that particular item. So
Yes.
I apologize for that. So we'll now move along to item number 6, and what we're going to do, let me get my notes here. Okay, so council, what we're going to do, we're going to combine items number 6, 7, and 8. This does relate to basically the same item on the agenda. It's just different plats of land that we're dealing with. So at this time, I'm going to read items number 6, 7, and 8. Okay, let me begin once again. Item number 6, ordinance number 2023-071, rezoning WPT Lot 20, all 21, Block 6, HS James Headright Survey A-306, located at 4307 Gazola Street, single family 2 to agriculture, Inez Dixon owner, Charles Griffin Jr. agent. Item number 7, ordinance number 2023-072, rezoning EPT Lot 20, Block 6, HS James Headright Survey A-306, located at 4301 Gazola Street, single family 2 to agriculture, Inez Dixon owner, and Charles Griffin Jr. agent. Item number 8, ordinance number 2023-073, rezoning Lot 22, Block 6, HS James Headright Survey A-306, located at 1312 Letter Carrier Drive, single family 2 to agriculture, Inez Dixon owner, Charles Griffin Jr. agent. At this time, I'll declare the public hearing open. If there's anyone who would like to address the council on this item, if you'll please come forward and state your name for the record. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joyce Griffin. I am the wife of Charles Griffin. He's sitting in the back. What we are trying to do with this particular piece of property is basically create a RV park for people that will be coming into town, whether it be for leisure, whether it be for work, whether it be for business purposes, because we know that Texarkana as a whole is growing. And as we see RV parks here in the area, we notice that they are getting quite full. So what we want to do, especially on this stretch of highway, with it being a main highway, especially connecting to 59, that be able to provide a space where they can come and be able to rest, whether it be just for a night, maybe a month, maybe it be for 3 months. You know, give something for the travelers to be able to come and set up and have a home type of feeling.
Okay, so if you'll remind me, Ms. Griffin, so I think there's a limit on the length of time of the stay. Is it 90 days?
Yes, it's 90 days.
90
yes,
days.
yes.
Okay, so someone can come there, they can rent a space from you all for up to 90 days.
Yes, sir.
All right, and then they would need to vacate their
Yes.
spot?
Yes.
Okay, and so what about if they were wanting to return to that spot at a later time? Would they be able to or not? How
They
would
would,
that
it
work?
would have to be a 30-day time limit before they can return back to that piece of property.
Okay, so they would have up to 90 days, and
Yes.
then they would have to vacate the property for 30 days.
Yes.
And then they could reapply to, for
Come
another
back for
90
another
days.
90 days. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, all right. Also, one other question for you. This, with the location here on the corner of Gazola and the East Loop Drive, this is adjacent to I-369, or what we also refer to as the Jarvis Parkway. So this is a very high visible corridor with traffic coming through throughout the city. And so kind of share with me your thoughts as far as the aesthetics of the property, as far as landscaping or lighting or fencing. What are your ideas on things like that?
Well, as of now, the property already does have lighting out there on it already. It has a light on there. I think our provider is Bowie Cast. And what we would do, we would eventually we will landscape it off, put up a fencing option so that when you come in and everything like that, especially if you have young children, because a lot of times people do travel for work and they have their children with them. And we will also eventually put a laundromat, you know, in a, I guess you could say in like a portable building shed, but it will be on site for them to be able to do their laundry, do different things. It may be a small little park for their dogs, animals, and things of that nature, and maybe something for the children to play on.
Okay, okay, all right. All right, thank you, ma'am. All right. Do you have any other information that you'd like to share with us?
No, well, I have the,
All right, Mr. Griffin, if you'll please state your name, so we'll have that in the record. I apologize.
I'm sorry, I'm Charles Griffin. How are you all today?
Okay.
But yes, sir, I have the drawings of everything. We've had this, so we have this prepared as well.
Okay, okay, all right. Do we have any questions from the council for the Griffins this evening?
No.
No questions? Okay, all right. Thank you all. All right, appreciate it. Public hearing is still open on this item. If anyone else would like to address the council, if you'll please come forward, state your name for the record. Not seeing anyone else coming forward at this time, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion for approval of items 6, 7, and 8?
Motion.
We have a motion
So
by,
moved.
okay, motion by Councilmember Hart, second by Councilmember White. All right, Ms. Evans, can you read those captions, please?
Mayor,
Mr. Lewis?
if I may advise, let's have a separate vote for each agenda item.
Okay, all right, so we need to do a separate vote. Okay, all right, so, all right, let's look at item 6, ordinance 2023.071. Is there a motion for approval? Councilmember Hart, second by Councilmember White. All right, Ms. Evans, a caption, please.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Texarkana, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Texarkana, Texas by rezoning WPT Lot 20 all 21, Block 6, H.S. Janes, HRS, A-306, located at 4307 Gazzola Street in the city of Texarkana, Bowie County, Texas, from Single Family 2 to Agriculture, containing a repealer clause, containing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ordinance passes unanimously. All right. Looking at item number 7, ordinance number 2023-072, is there a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilmember White, second by Councilmember Davis. Ms. Evans, the caption, please.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Texarkana, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Texarkana, Texas by rezoning EPT Lot 20, Block 6, H.S. Janes, HRS, A-306, located at 4301 Gazzola Street in the city of Texarkana, Bowie County, Texas, from Single Family 2 to Agriculture, containing a repealer clause, containing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ordinance passes. Item number 8, ordinance number 2023-073. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hart, second by Councilmember Davis. Ms. Evans, the caption.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Texarkana, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Texarkana, Texas, by rezoning Lot 22, Block 6, H.S. Janes, HRS, A-306, located at 1312 Letter Carrier Drive in the city of Texarkana, Bowie County, Texas, from Single Family 2 to Agriculture, containing a repealer clause, containing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ordinance passes. Okay, council, at this time, we're going to group items 9, 10, and 11. So item 9 is ordinance number 2023-083, granting a specific use permit to allow an RV park on the WPT Lot 20, all 21, Block 6, H.S. Janes Headright Survey, A-306, located at 4307 Gazzola Street. Inez Dixon, owner. Charles Griffin, Jr., agent. Item number 10, ordinance number 2023-084, granting a specific use permit to allow an RV park on the EPT Lot 20, Block 6, H.S. Janes Headright Survey, A-306, located at 4301 Gazzola Street. Inez Dixon, owner. Charles Griffin, Jr., agent. Item number 11, ordinance number 2023-085, granting a specific use permit to allow an RV park on the Lot 22, Block 6, H.S. Janes Headright Survey, A-306, located at 1312 Letter Carrier Drive. Inez Dixon, owner. Charles Griffin, Jr., agent. Once again, the public hearing is open on these items. If anyone else would like to address the council, please come forward and state your name for the record. Not seeing anyone coming forward at this time, we'll declare the public hearing closed. And then council will go through each one of these individually once again. So item number 9, ordinance number 2023-083. Is there a motion for approval? We have a motion by Councilmember Hart. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Williams. All right, Ms. Evans, the caption, please.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Texarkana, Texas, amending the zoning map showing the location, boundary, and use of certain property by the granting of specific use permit number S-779 to allow the location of an RV park on the WPT Lot 20, all Lot 21, Block 6, H.S. Janes, HRS, A-306, located at 4307 Gazzola Street in the city of Texarkana, Bowie County, Texas, containing a repealer clause, containing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Item number 10, ordinance number 2023-084. Is there a motion for approval? Motion by Councilmember White. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Davis. Ms. Evans, the caption?
The City Council of the City of Texarkana, Texas, amending the zoning map showing the location, boundary, and use of certain property by the granting of specific use permit number S-780 to allow the location of an RV park on the EPT Lot 20, Block 6, H.S. Janes HRS A-306, located at 4301 Gazzola Street in the city of Texarkana, Bowie County, Texas, containing a repealer clause, containing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ordinance passes. Aye. Forgot to vote. Aye. Item number 11, ordinance number 2023-085. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember White. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Williams. Ms. Evans, the caption?
Of the City Council of the City of Texarkana, Texas, amending the zoning map showing the location, boundary, and use of certain property by the granting of specific use permit number S-781 to allow the location of an RV park on Lot 22, Block 6, H.S. Janes HRS A-306, located at 1312 Letter Carrier Drive in the city of Texarkana, Bowie County, Texas, containing a repealer clause, containing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ordinance passes. All right, now, council, we're going to group items 12, 13, and 14. Item 12, ordinance number 2023-086, amending PD-23-3A for site plan approval on WPT Lot 20, All 21, Block 6, H.S. Janes Headright Survey A-306, located at 4307 Gazzola Street. Inez Dixon, owner. Charles Griffin, Jr., agent. Item number 13, ordinance number 2023-087, amending PD-23-4A for site plan approval on EPT Lot 20, Block 6, H.S. Janes Headright Survey A-306, located at 4301 Gazzola Street. Inez Dixon, owner. Charles Griffin, Jr., agent. Item number 14, ordinance number 2023-088, amending PD-23-5A for site plan approval on Lot 22, Block 6, H.S. Janes Headright Survey A-306, located at 1312 Letter Carrier Drive. Inez Dixon, owner, and Charles Griffin, Jr., agent. At this time, I'll open the public hearing on items 12, 13, and 14. If there's anyone who would like to address the council, please come forward. At this time, I'll declare the public hearing closed. And at this time, we'll go ahead and begin once again with item 12, ordinance 2023-086. Is there a motion for approval? We have a motion by Councilmember Hart. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Davis. Ms. Evans, the caption?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Texarkana, Texas, amending PD-23-3A for site plan approval on the WPT Lot 20, All 21, Block 6, H.S. Janes HRS A-306, located at 4307 Gazzola Street in the city of Texarkana, Bowie County, Texas, containing a repealer clause, containing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ordinance passes. This time we'll consider item 13, ordinance number 2023-087. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Williams. The caption, please, Ms. Evans.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Texarkana, Texas, amending PD-23-4A for site plan approval on the EPT Lot 20, Block 6, H.S. Janes HRS A-306, located at 4301 Gazzola Street in the city of Texarkana, Bowie County, Texas, containing a repealer clause, containing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ordinance passes. Item 14, ordinance number 2023-088. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember White. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Williams. Ms. Evans, the caption.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Texarkana, Texas, amending PD-23-5A for site plan approval on Lot 22, Block 6, H.S. Janes HRS A-306, located at 1312 Letter Carrier Drive in the city of Texarkana, Bowie County, Texas, containing a repealer clause, containing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And we'll now move along to the city manager's report, which will give me a chance to catch my breath.
All right, well, good evening, Mayor and Council. So just a few quick updates for you tonight. First off, we're continually looking for ways to improve our public services within the community. And as a result of that, our staff, Chiquita Burks to be specific, has developed a customer service satisfaction survey that we're rolling out to the public. And so you can see a picture of the survey graphic on the screen, but we have placed this in high traffic areas for the public throughout the city. So the police department, municipal court, TWU, Southwest Center, vital statistics, the building inspections office, our reception area downstairs, and the Collins Center all have these surveys. So we're interested in things that we're doing well, but also things that we could improve on as well. So and we'll have this also on some of our social media pages in the coming weeks as well. Also wanted just to notify you that the city doesn't intend to apply for a EPA job training grant. This is in partnership with Texarkana College, and we applied for this grant. It's been about a decade ago, but this grant recruits, trains, and places underemployed or unemployed residents of an affected area in the presence of brownfield sites. So through this program, graduates learn skills to secure full-time sustainable employment, and they do a number of things from cleanup and reuse and chemical safety classes through Texarkana College. So the application is still in process. However, we do look at the service areas to include the city limits along with the Texarkana College service area as well. And then finally, just a few save the dates. I think you've seen most of these. Just a reminder that the airport master plan workshop is this Wednesday, July 12th, from 5:30 to 6:30 at the Texarkana Convention Center. We also have the Jameson Building Community Engagement. That's with Kansas State University. They will be here on Thursday, July 27th at the Texarkana Public Library, David Nelson Meeting Room. That's from 5:30 to 8 p.m. And then also just one final note, the Texas Broadband Office will be here to talk about the Texas Digital Opportunity Plan. That is a public meeting on Monday, July 31st at 2 p.m. at the Texarkana Public Library. That's all the updates I have.
So, David, the event on the 27th at the library, is that a come and go? Or is it a program for that entire time? Or
I believe it's come and go. We'll have more information here
Okay.
soon. I know we have a scheduled meeting with Kansas State tomorrow,
Okay.
and so we're developing that program. But as we get more information, we'll send out more details on exactly how the program will line out.
Okay, all right, very good. All right. Any questions for David? All right, very good report. All right, at this time, we'll move along to administrative comments. Do we have any comments from the council directed to the staff? Ms. Matlock?
I have a comment. I am really concerned, and I guess I'm a little disappointed about these lots that belong to Bowie County Appraisal District. The grass is up to my waist. I'm 4'11", so it's up to my waist, and it only gets cut twice a year. There's snakes, bad snakes like water moccasins. You know, there's one right between my property and my mom's property. I've been cutting it myself because I saw a snake. And I just think something needs to be done about it. I mean, if you go all over Ward 1, I don't know about Ward 2, but the grass is just terrible. It's terrible.
It's bad in mine too.
On that
Yours too?
note, I'll just remind you that the Bowie County Appraisal District's budget is currently in process, and so that's one of the things we've had ongoing conversations with them about the need to maintain their own mowing. And so we'll bring that up again with Bowie County Appraisal District again this year.
I've had parents call me because they've seen snakes. And we saw 5 or 6, not just one snake. We saw baby snakes, the kids saying it, you know. And this is where kids play in those areas, and it's just too dangerous.
And I'll be more than happy to bring that up at the next appraisal district meeting.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Thank you, Ms. Matlock. All All right, any other comments from the council?
I
Mr. Davis?
have one for the city to take into consideration, and it just goes back to one of the agenda items that we have tonight, to possibly evaluate our special use permits and what zones that they can be utilized in. I think the application of actually changing a zone to commercial and then being able to, do something like that would be a better thing for our citizens, rather than being able to, use that in an agricultural area or something like that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Davis. Any other comments from the council? Okay, unless there's any further business brought before the council, I will.
Mayor,
I'm sorry, Kristen. I'm sorry. I
Yes.
overlooked city staff, and I had a note that you had something you wanted to share. I apologize.
Yes, and I'll be brief.
No, go ahead.
David had sent out an email last week, I believe on Friday, trying to poll the council on a potential special meeting. We were hoping to have something on July 17th or July 18th, possibly around noon. And I promised it would be brief. It would just be one agenda item, and it would be to approve the notice of intent for the certificates of obligation that we spoke about at the joint budget meeting in May. And the reason that the special meeting is needed is because you have to have a 45-day notice period. But we were not prepared to move forward with that until we got notification that the audit was going to be complete in time to move forward with this process, which I'm happy to report that they should be here at the next council meeting to present the actual final draft of the audit. But since it will be complete, we can go ahead and start with the process. So I just wanted to poll the council to see which day would work best for you all.
Okay, council, the 17th is on a Monday, the 18th is on a Tuesday. Both days are good with me. Does anyone have a conflict with?
I will be out of town on the 18th.
Okay, so is everybody okay with?
I will be out of town on the 18th.
Okay, so how about the 17th?
All right with me.
I'll be at a convention all week.
Okay. Is it something that we need the full council or?
I believe it would take the
full
I
council?
mean, as long as there was a quorum.
Or
Yes.
quorum, okay.
This is the, it would be to approve a notice of intent to issue the certificates of obligation. It's the approximately $18.7 million bond that we discussed at the joint budget meeting.
I can be there Monday.
Okay. Do you have like a deadline date that it has to be done before?
It has to actually be published on the 23rd. Of course, I need a little bit of time to
Sure.
give the Gazette a heads up.
Right.
I can go ahead and send them all the wording to publish it on the 23rd, but we would just need approval by the council prior to the 23rd in order for it to run.
Okay. Well, it's next Monday, yeah. So if you have a quorum, then we're fine.
Correct. And I just wanted to clarify, this is just to publish the notice of intent. This is not actually voting on the bond issuance.
Okay.
That follows our normal schedule in August and September for the budget. This is just for the notice of intent that's required.
To approve that. Okay, just notice intent. So, okay, well, if we've got a quorum, then is that okay with you, Ms. Matlock? Okay, all right. So let's schedule it for Monday, the 17th at noon here?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
all
sir.
right. So council, if you'll note, this coming Monday, the 17th at noon here at City Hall, and we'll get that item of business taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Kristen?
That's it.
That's
Thank
it?
you.
Okay, all right. I apologize. I had it written down here that you had something you needed to share with us, so I apologize. Dr. Ward, anything else? Okay, all right. Well, very good. Now then, unless there's any further business brought before the council, I will entertain a motion for adjournment. We have a motion by Councilmember White, a second by Councilmember Matlock. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much for being here this evening.